God may be allowing you to keep struggling with a reoccurring sin if you're depending on the power of fear rather than on the power of God's love for you for deliverance. The motive for why we're trying to stop a particular reoccurring sin is actually going to influence our ability to resist that sin or not. The fear of punishment in the long run is not a strong enough motivation to help us overcome the strong allure of sin. As John Owen wrote in his book called Of the Mortification of Sin in Believers, such a man who opposes nothing to the seduction of sin and lust in his heart, but fear of shame among men or hell from God, is sufficiently resolved to do the sin if there were no punishment attending it, which what it differs from living in the practice of sin, I know not. Now, if a man be so under the power of his lust that he has nothing but law to oppose it with, if he cannot fight against it with the gospel weapons, but deals with it altogether with hell and judgment, which are the proper arms of the law, it is most evident that sin has possessed itself of his will and affections to a very great prevalency and conquest. Such a person has cast off, as to the particular sin spoken of, the conduct of renewing grace, and is kept from ruin only by restraining grace. And so far is he fallen from grace and returned under the power of the law. Restraining grace is the reason our world has not completely destroyed itself. The fear of our civil laws and the conscience God has put in the heart of every human, saved or not, allows this world to go on. But renewing grace is the gift that Christians have received through the gospel. Now we can choose to act morally not only out of fear of punishment that restrains us, but rather out of our love for God and people. When Joseph was being tempted by Potiphar's wife, he focused most on his relationship with God, not the fear of punishment. In Genesis 39 verse 9 he states, "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" 2 Corinthians 5:14 says, "For Christ's love compels us." 1 John 4:17 through 19 explains, "By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment, because as he is, so also are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us." The power of fear is not as strong as the power of love. If you are trying to resist this reoccurring sin out of fear, rather than out of the power of Christ's love for you, you will keep struggling. Our relationship with God and his love for us must be the motivation for our warfare against sin.